station.
We're back here, WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station. The Temple Owls come off a tough loss at a game that they were once up by 21. They eventually dropped to SMU by 10 points. Let's go out to the hotline right now. Temple will go to Rutgers this week, and we'll welcome in the pre- and post-host for Rutgers Football and WOR, also host a show on WFAN and the CBS Sports Network, and that's my good buddy, Marc Malusis. Malusis, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. How are you?
What's going on, Zach? How you guys doing?
We're doing great. We appreciate you coming on. And I was reading yesterday that Kyle Flood, he comes out and he says it's an open QB battle, but then Gary Nova's saying he doesn't know what the coach is talking about, and he's been taking a lot of the first reps at practice. I know Nova hasn't been playing all that great in the last 4 games, throwing 9 interceptions, but what do you make out of this QB battle? Do you think it's just to give Nova a little extra push, or is this a legitimate battle here in East Brunswick?
Well, I think what it comes down to, Zach, I mean, you mentioned, Gary Nova's poor play. It's really 7 interceptions in his last 2 games. He threw 4 against Louisville, and he threw 3 last weekend, homecoming against the Houston Cougars, a game that they, really got absolutely trounced in. So I think it's a case where you look at the backup quarterback, Chase Dodd, has got starting experience for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and is a guy that is surely, not that great in stature. He's about 6'1", but he can throw a nice deep ball. The wide receivers and the deep passing game has been non-existent. I think Nova has been telegraphing a lot of his throws, and it comes down to the fact that they need to be very, very productive offensively and be able to hit the likes of Leonte Carrillo and Brandon Coleman to set up the ground game. And Justin Goodwin has filled in very, very well for the injured Paul James, but offensively, this team hasn't really done much the past couple of games, and you can't have a quarterback right now that's playing the way that Gary Nova is when you have a capable backup in Chase Dodd that has led this offense successfully before.
Temple hasn't been able to get a consistent pass rush on the quarterback this year, and that secondary is a decimated unit. Do you think it's time to make that move to Dodd just because you're going up against a weak defense here in the Temple Owls that allowed 59 points last week?
Well, you think about it. I mean, they went up against the Houston secondary last weekend that was 116th in the nation against the pass, and they scored 2 touchdowns. And so I don't know if it's necessarily about the stature of the opponent they're going up against. I think it's the confidence level of the quarterback that's playing the position. And yeah, I could see Gary Nova getting a couple of drives on Saturday against Temple, and if he is not productive or if he turns the football over, that Kyle Flood goes to Chase Dodd, because this isn't about just Gary Nova. This is about the entire program. And there's some good things about Rutgers. Certainly, there's a lot of youth on that defense, and they have to replace a lot of guys that went on to the next level in the National Football League. But I think it's just a matter of the quarterback play has regressed so badly. And this is the case of, if you go back to Gary Nova a year ago, Nova got off to a great start, was one of the top quarterbacks in the Big East at that time, and he really struggled down the stretch and struggled in the bowl game. You look at it this year, got off to a great start, was one of the best quarterbacks in the AAC, but has really regressed the last 2 or 3 games. So I could see Nova getting the start, but then Dodd quickly replacing him.
What's happening, Mark? It's Chase Sr. Thanks for joining the show. When you look at Rutgers' secondary, they're giving up about 320 yards per game through the air. John O'Corn was able to have his way with that Rutgers secondary throughout last week as Houston put up 49 points. What's been the issue with that unit? Has it been personnel? Has it been coaching? Or what has it been?
I think it's just a lot of youth and inexperience. If you look at that secondary that they had last year, Cooper is playing, one of their starters at corner is playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Logan Ryan, the other starter, is playing for the New England Patriots. One of their safeties, Deron Harmon, plays for the New England Patriots. That secondary had to replace a lot, and they lost. They one guy, an individual that was part of the rotation, Ian Thomas, left the program to pursue a baseball career about a week and a half ago. They're starting 2 freshmen. It's not like they're not without talent. I think it's just a matter of getting the experience on this level. And plus, guys, they've really struggled with spread offenses. Added to a lot of defenses in the college level, but they struggled against Fresno State. They struggled against SMU. and last week they really struggled against Houston. The difference is that Houston, in the Houston game, the offense didn't really do its part. It didn't really do much to help out the defense and long, sustained drives, and they turned the football over. If you go out there and you turn the football over as many times as Rutgers did last week, any team's going to go out there and beat you.
We're talking to the Moose, Marc Malusis, the pre- and post-host for Rutgers Football on WOR. And Malusis, let's get to Temple from their offensive standpoint. They made the change in that Fordham game. They gave some reps to P.J. Walker. Then P.J. comes in late in that Louisville disaster game, and he's been able to expand the field. He's been able to throw the deep ball. One of his favorite targets is Robbie Anderson. We talked about this being a weak secondary for Rutgers, but P.J. Walker, a local kid from Elizabeth, he could extend the plays with his legs as well and has a big arm. This looks like it could be a little problem for the Rutgers secondary coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think Rutgers is, any defense is going to be predicated on a pass rush and get to the quarterback. And Rutgers this year, aside from the Houston game, has been very, very stout against the run. I mean, going into that affair last Saturday, which was homecoming, they were second in the nation at the defense, allowing just 84 yards per game on the ground, second to Michigan State, who's leading the nation. I think they were under 60 yards per game. So, yeah, I think he could. I mean, I think the run-pass motion, no doubt about it. I think the ability, if he's able to break containment, lengthen out plays, I think Rutgers has shown you that, they do have a penchant to give up the big play down the football field. And, yeah, I think he's setting up offensively where Temple should be able to score some points on its Scarlet Knight defense on Saturday.
Justin Goodwin, the freshman, has taken the place of the starting running back. He's done pretty well so far, ran for 392 yards on 73 carries and 4 touchdowns. How impressed have you been with him, given that he's been inserted into the lineup and become the number 1 back for the Scarlet Knights?
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he replaces a guy in Paul James that was leading the nation in rushing before he suffered that as Rutgers terms with the lower body injury and has missed the last 3 games. So he stepped in for him. He's done. I think everyone on that campus thought it was going to be Savon Huggins, who was going to replace Paul James when he got hurt. And Huggins was given an opportunity, really didn't do much, and it's been a real disappointment on Scarlet campus because he was such a high recruit coming out of high school. But Goodwin's shown you the ability to beat people missing the open field. He's shown you breakaway speed as well. He runs with a physicality. I don't think there's any Rutgers, when everyone's healthy, 2 pretty darn good running backs, but even with James being hurt, Justin Goodwin's been fantastic running the football.
I remember interviewing Kyle Flood last year right before the Temple-Rutgers game, and that was Temple's one of their better first-half performances as they went into the halftime with the lead. And I said to Coach Flood that he has to throw the football up against this Temple team. I know he likes to run the ball a lot, and you've seen a lot of struggles with the quarterback position this year, whether it will be Nova or Dodd on Saturday. But this is a Temple unit that they don't have much in the defensive line. The secondary isn't all that great, but the linebacking core has been one that's been very impressive. Tyler Medikevich, he was the Big East Rookie Defensive Player of the Year from a year ago. Now they're in the American, and he's a top 5 tackler in the nation. Nate D. Smith has moved from linebacker to defensive lineman, and now he's back to the linebacking role. So what do you expect out of this Rutgers offense on Saturday going up against Temple?
Well, I think any offense. Now, they do have a new offensive coordinator in Ron Prince this year, who used to coach at Kansas State when Josh Freeman was the quarterback out there for Kansas State in the Big 12. So it's the Wildcats. So they do like to run the football. They're a power run team at heart. I think when you think about Northeast football, they want a big offensive line. They want to be able to establish the run. They want to be able to gain first downs on 3rd and short and stuff like that. So they're never really going to be a spread offense. But when you have the likes of Leonte Carew, who's a high recruit coming out of Don Bosco, Brandon Coleman, who has the ability to play on the next level in the National Football League, certainly there are throws to be made down the football field. Are they going to be a pass-first offense? No, I don't think there's any question they will not be, because they do have a penchant to want to establish the run. But it's a case of establishing that run, forcing the defense to bring an extra man into the box to set up the passing game down the field. And they do have matchup issues down the field, certainly, with the likes of Brandon Coleman and Tyler Croft, the tight end that in the last 3 or 4 weeks has been catching footballs all over the place. So, and they'll be a run-first offense, but they do like to throw the football. They do have more of a pro style, but it's not a spread offense.
Matt Rule's predecessor, Steve Adazio, was known to run the ball all the time last year, but Matt Rule comes in here and he's implemented a pro spread. It's taken a little while for that offense to get going, but with P.J. Walker under center, that offense has been moving the chains more so than they were under Connor Riley. Now, PJ has looked really good the last couple of weeks, done some good things, obviously has made some freshman mistakes, but some of the other weapons have also stepped up. Jalen Fitzpatrick and Robbie Anderson, just to name two of them, have stepped up as wide receivers. Do you sense any type of fear in the Rutgers fan base with Temple coming into town? I know that their record only reads 1-7, but they have improved on the offensive side of the rock the last couple of weeks.
Well, I don't know if I'd say fear. I think there's, if you look at the way that Temple has played with Walker at quarterback, certainly they're improved. So I think there is a respect. I don't think it's a Temple team that you look at it that are complete doormats, and they have been at times in their program's history. But I think that you saw last week against SMU. It's a shame that you guys weren't able to hold on and get that victory after a 3-touchdown lead. But certainly that offense looks a lot different. And, spread offenses, have been a major issue for this Rutgers defense. So if you're able to run it effectively and protect Walker up front, like I mentioned before, based on the football field, that secondary for the Scarlet Knights continues to gain experience.
Final one here as we're talking to Marc Malusis, pre- and post-host for WOR for the Rutgers Football Radio Network. And, Mark, earlier in the year, 2020 to 2023, these teams will play 4 times. They signed a big contract deal for that. Last year, Rutgers, the fans, they came down to the link. It was a raucous atmosphere. It was a lot of back and forth between these two fan bases. I know they're moving to different conferences as Rutgers go into the Big Ten and Temple will stay in the American. But can you see this Rutgers-Temple start to turn into a rivalry because of the proximity of these two schools?
Yeah, I think you could. I know they're going to be in different conferences, but you look at it, it's important for, you mentioned Walker being a Jersey kid, right? It's important for Temple to be successful in this area, and certainly it's important for Rutgers to continue to have, kind of a foothold in that South Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. So, I don't think there's any doubt that it's good for both programs to maintain that rivalry and to play, and certainly I think it's good for both programs in recruiting, and I expect Saturday to be one where you look at a Scarlet Knight team that lost 2 straight, they're dying for a victory, and you look for a Temple team to continue to improve and try and get their second win of the season. So I would expect a good game on Saturday. Rutgers is the Rutgers are, a 4-3 football team for a reason. They played well at times and they played poorly at times. They've been inconsistent, and their defense has been one that clearly has got a lot of improving. On a Temple offense that is getting better and better with Walker at quarterback.
Moose, we appreciate a few minutes today. We'll see you Saturday. Thanks so much, my man.
Yeah, you got it, Zach. Have a great day, guys.